By now, many of you may have new trees planted in your landscape or around your home or community as a result of Arbor Week. And I want to give you a few reminders of things to kind of help in the success of getting those trees established. Now, no matter how big the tree is, whether it's a big one like this, and we're located here in a tree nursery actually north of the OBGA headquarters gardens, but if you've got a big tree or small tree, all of the principles still apply, and that is, of course, you want to keep a grass-free area from around the tree, at least 3 feet in diameter or even bigger, depending upon the size of the tree. That way there's no competition from the grass and the tree, and the best way to accommodate that is by putting a mulch around the tree and killing out the grass. Also, obviously, during the first few weeks of trying to get it settled, you want to make sure you give it plenty of water, and then monitor that with the spring rains. And then during the summer, obviously, you'll need to give it a little bit of supplemental water to help them get established. Water is so crucial in the first several years of getting a tree established. And then once they begin to leaf out, just monitor for pests. But I think the other thing that people forget about is starting to train them and prune them at the time of planting, and that's so important. And so there's some things that you need to do and observe, and doing a little bit of pruning maintenance throughout the season is really okay. And if you don't, let me show you what can happen to your tree as a result of the recent 15-inch snowstorm that we had. Now, this is a winged elm tree, and I'm going to walk around over here and show you kind of what happened. This tree is probably, 6, 7, maybe 8 years old, and with all the heavy snow, it just split right here in the center in 4 pieces. And the way that's split down the middle, that will never be able to repair to get it to really to mold back together or graft back together. We'll just have to remove the tree. But let me push it up here, and you can see that it doesn't look that bad, other than the fact that that crotch angle is really a bad angle. And as a result of all the weight of the snow, it just split right open and we've lost the entire tree. Now, I've got one over here that I can show you really how to touch them up with some of your pruning practices. This tree obviously has been abused a little bit as far as maintenance or care, but you would never want to allow any suckers to come up from the base of the tree like this one. So we would move all of those off right off the bat, those suckers. But a lot of people have a tendency to want to go ahead and do that practice right up the tree, and I would encourage you to leave these branches on the lower part, especially the first several years, because those branches will help increase the circumference of the tree. So leave all of those on, just get rid of the suckers. Now let me show you what a bad crotch angle is that caused a problem over there. Here's a good example right here. You can see that as a result of those 2 branches being pushed together closely, there's a lot of excess tissue right here that's very weak. And as a result, if the wind or the snow puts pressure on that, it's going to split right down the center, just like the larger tree. And if you'll bring your attention down to one here, you can see this branch angle is more of a 45-degree angle, and there's not as much pressure, excess cell growth in there. And it's easy to see the difference of the angles. So that's very important, that you want to try to get your branch angles as horizontal to the ground as you possibly can, because they're a little bit stronger. So in that case, we would want to prune that one off at this particular angle, or I've got one down here even that I can show you that's kind of at a little bit different angle. And we would just go in and prune that off. I'm going to use a bow saw here because it's a little bit bigger than my hand pruners. And that actually is trying to be the central leader on this particular tree too. And you can notice I've done it at an angle. I didn't get it real flush, that way it'll hill over a little bit, and that won't take over as a central leader. This one will, and as the tree matures, that will hill over and everything will look nicely. But there's some ways that you can get your branch angles to go down, and this one's trying to go up a little bit. And one way, we've showed you this on the fruit trees in pruning, you can just put a cup full of concrete with the wire in it, cover the wire with some kind of rubber material so it doesn't damage and scrape up the skin of the bark of the tree, but just the weight of that will pull the branch down and help your branch angle. So that's one way that you can do it. Now, of course, that may not look too attractive in the landscape, but other ways are using spacers, and you can make your own. Here's a wooden one, and you can see you just fit them at the angle of the branch, and that pushes it down. I've seen people use wood ones and put nails, but I really wouldn't encourage that. Or you can even purchase plastic ones that are really sold for fruit trees, and they have a V in them. They come in different sizes, but you'll see a little bit of a tooth there that kind of catches in the bark of the tree and doesn't damage it as much as a nail would, that keeps it from sliding. So there are ways that you can manipulate the growth of the tree to get your best branch angles, to get a good straight upright tree, and the only way you can do that is to come out, be active pruning, and you can do these kinds of things throughout the growing season. It really won't affect them that much. If you do any major pruning, I would save that for the dormant season. But kind of design and be your own artist in the growth of your tree, especially when you plant new ones. That way you'll prevent accidents from happening like this.